What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Point After with Mitch Kaiser. I'm your host, Mitch Kaiser. Coming to you on a Friday. Happy Friday. Today we are going to do, I'm going to release my NBA full draft board, draft big board, as you guys can see up on the screen now. Have our my big board on draftballer.com. It's a pretty good website that I've found that can kind of create your own draft board. Pretty cool. There's a lot you can do on here, so it's pretty sweet. But for all my hoops nerds out there, this is a good website to make basketball rankings, mock drafts, and you name it. So I'm going to give you guys my top 30 prospects for the 2026 NBA draft that's coming up in about a month, and excited to do so. We're going to, won't waste any time on it. Going to go over my first round prospects, my top 30 players in this draft class. Only going to give 30 today, and then we'll get back to Mock Draft Monday on next Monday. We just are coming off Thursday night. Last night, the San Antonio Spurs blew out the Oklahoma City Thunder almost by 30 points. So that was quite impressive, the run they just did. So pretty cool that we're getting to Game 7. Excited for that. It's been an epic series, so can't wait for Game 7. May talk a little bit about that, just kind of give my preview. I'm still taking Thunder in 7 because that was my pick from original, and I'm sticking with it. I think at home it's going to be tough to really get it done against Oklahoma City Thunder with their crowd. I expect Shea to have a bounce-back game, only 15 points. That's not going to happen again. Shot woes you like 6 of 18, 33%. That's not going to happen again. Wemby really took it to him, kind of dominated the start and just kind of I was a little surprised OKC didn't even show up in the first quarter. I mean, it was 35-22 at the end of the first quarter. So, De'Aaron Fox is clearly battling an injury, struggling with an injury. He shot like 1 of 9, only had 5 points. So, even in a win, that's a struggle for the Spurs. So, they're going to need him to play much better than that if they want to win Game 7. There's no secret. Obviously, Fox being the adult in the room, you kind of expect more out of him, but Dylan Harper has really been Harper and Castle specifically have kind of been the best guards for San Antonio in this series. And Devin Vassell has come up huge, too, had some really big-time shots. Had another big block on Chet Holmgren, who I think has just kind of been non-existent in this series. He needs to step up and have a big Game 7 if they want to close him out at home. Because like I said, if you can't beat this first iteration of the Wemby team, it's not a good look, and it's not a good sign for the next decade for Oklahoma City, because they kind of thought they were going to be cruising to the finals this year again, and Wemby's already arrived, and the Spurs have already arrived. So I cannot wait to see Game 7. I think we're going to get a lower scoring, kind of grinded out game, like a 93-97 game. I feel like Game 7s are always low scoring, and it's like tough defensive matchups, and you just kind of risk it all, throw your body on the line, put it all on the line. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope we get a competitive game, because since Game 1, the double overtime, they've kind of all been blowouts, and they've all kind of ended in double-digit scoring. So I really hope we get a close one that comes down to the wire. I think we will. That is typically what you get in Game 7s. Or you get a blowout, like the Detroit Pistons experience against the Cleveland Cavaliers when they didn't even show up and lost by 30. So one of two extremes there. But yeah, Jalen Williams, Thunder Jalen Williams. I know I'm just doing the rant now, the Oklahoma City rant now. We'll just focus on Game 7 right now, and then I'll get into my draft board. Smaller Jalen Williams, as in wing Jalen Williams, J-Dub, only played 10 minutes, was a minus 18 coming off that hamstring strain. I am curious to see if he even suits up or plays again. Like, he did not look good, was kind of not impactful the whole time in his minutes. Jalen Williams, the big Jalen Williams, was he's kind of been one of their best players. I think they need to get more, see more out of him too. One of the best backup bigs in the NBA. So his presence on the floor, they've been going 2 bigs, which I think has been smart for obviously Wembanyama down low. Hartenstein has given Wemby the biggest fits in terms of defense. So I think that's kind of their recipe for success in Game 7, is kind of throwing all the bodies at Wemby that you can, and, balls to the wall, if you will, in Game 7, kind of leave nothing left behind, kind of just go all out for it. I think the home crowd's going to be big. I think the experience matters. Like we've talked about, there's never been a team this young to go through and get to the NBA Finals and win it in their first year, their first real playoff run. I think the experience of last year's finals, I think that game 7 against Denver where they were back at OKC last year in the conference semis, I think that is going to come up huge. That game, that moment, that pivotal moment where they kind of really shut down the narratives against the Nuggets, and that was when they kind of won the finals last year, in my opinion. So I think OKC is going to do that again in Game 7. I'm not saying they're going to go on to beat the Knicks. We'll preview whoever is in the finals next week, but I think that's the recipe for success for the Thunder is really get back to their game, lock in defensively, and always have two bigs out on the court, whether it's Hartenstein and Chet, whether it's Jalen Williams and Hartenstein, Chet, whoever. And yeah, I am predicting the Oklahoma City Thunder win Game 7. So that I think we get a close, lower scoring defensive grinded out game where they really try to beat up Wemby down low, and they're going to test how physical they can get, and they're going to test the referee's whistle. So I don't see Shea letting them lose Game 7 at home. That is kind of where I'm at. I still think for now he is the best player in the world until Wemby takes it from him. I think coming off back-to-back MVPs and a finals MVP, I think this is your moment where you kind of like end that debate of who the best player is in the world. And I think Shea gets it done at home and advances to his second straight NBA Finals with the Thunder. But he's going to need help. He's going to need the other guys, the role players, to just have an average shooting game, because it feels like every other game they like have like the worst shooting performance of all time, and then they fire right back and they're like 45% from three the next game, whether it's like Caruso, Casey Wallace, Jared McCain. He has been huge every other game. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. I'm expecting bounce back game again from the Thunder. I will be super impressed if San Antonio goes in there and wins Game 7 on the road. That'll be like, we already have to throw Wembanyama in some wild conversations this early on in his career. So, all right. That's all I got. I know I said I was going to do that at the end, but we just kicked off the podcast with my little Western Conference Finals wrap, my Game 7 prediction. Again, last night was kind of a dud. San Antonio won by almost 30, and it's kind of been every game since Game 1 has been a blowout for the winning team. So, all right, without further ado now, let's get into my draft big board. As you guys can see, you're looking at draftballer.com. My big board is sitting here. You've probably been staring at Devonta Wilson Boozer for 10 minutes now. So I'm going to go over these guys, kind of give a brief description of each player, give an NBA comp, give a projection for them at the next level, and kind of my opinions on what their strengths and weaknesses are. I'll go over their stats. Just spend a few minutes on each player. I don't want to, waste too much time for you guys, but we'll just kind of get into the nitty gritty here. As you can see, I've got different tiers here, so I just want to click on this and show my tiers. I made 5 tiers here for 30 prospects, which are all first-round prospects in my eyes. So as you can see, the top label is blue chip prospects, so that's kind of, again, you hear that in NFL drafts a lot, your blue chippers. Like, these are the ones who are going to be the superstars. You don't need to overthink them. All the projections of them are going top 1, 2, and 3 in the draft. They're near perfect prospects. Everything about them screams superstar at the next level, whether it's the athleticism, whether it's the production, whether it's the winning. So yeah, blue chip prospects, there's 3. Next is the all-star label, which these are players that I believe can make all-star games, like multiple all-star games in their lifetime, and will just be known as all-stars in the league for a long time. Maybe not superstar status, but more in the can get to all-NBA, make an all-NBA at some point. Blue chip is like all-NBA first team, second team, third team guys. All-star is just you're like a top 30, top 40 player in the league. Next tier is high-end starters. So these are guys who are, averaging high double figures, close to 20 points a game, maybe 15, 16, 17, just good starters on good winning teams. That is always the thing that I want to see players hit is what is your ceiling on a good team? What is your ceiling on a playoff team? How can you help a good team win games in the NBA? That is what I want all of these players to hit, and that's kind of how I think you really make your mark and leave your mark in the NBA. And they have the tendency to make 1 or 2 all-star games. I'm not going to call them regular all-stars, but there's a lot of players who have a really good season and make like 1 all-star game in their career. So I could see a lot of those high-end starters doing that. Next tier is rotation starters. So this is kind of like your 5, 6, 7 guys off the bench. So like whether they're a spot starter for an injury guy, like in the lineup, and they'll average double figures, can score double figures, but you prefer them coming off the bench on like a playoff team, like a good team, versus maybe a starter on a really bad team where they can just get a lot of shots up. That's kind of what I see with those guys. And then tier 5 is, I don't mean this negatively. I just kind of like just pure bench guys, just high energy bench guys who can come off, probably have weaknesses in other areas that you don't want to play them more than like 20 minutes a night in the NBA, but guys who can come in, bring energy, have a specific strength and a specific tool that can help a team win, whether it's offensive rebounding, whether it's defense, whether it's lighting it up from the 3-point line. So backup point guards, you got a lot of strong backup point guards. So that's a huge role to play in the NBA as well. So you make a lot of money doing that. All right, those are my tiers. Now we're going to go over the blue chip prospects here. So first guy up, number 1 on my big board is AJ DeBonsa. That is a power forward from BYU, staying at 6'9", averaged 25 points, 6.5 rebounds, 3.7 assists, 1.1 steals, only 0.3 blocks. The defense has a little bit to go for him, but the tools are there and the physicality is there. Shot 51% from the field, only 33% from 3, but his shot looks good. He's a really good mid-range shooter. He has a really nice pull-up midi, and the form is great. It's a very fundamentally sound shooting form that kind of leads you to believe that his shooting percentage can go up. That's always a good sign, in my opinion, is when you see guys have good form and they look fundamentally sound. It means they're well coached. Free throw percentage is 77.4%. So that's a good sign as well. Anything in the high 70s, low 80s is what you want to see in the free throw line. Did average 3.1 assists, but I kind of chalked that up to BYU not having much talent around him. This team dealt with an abundance of injuries. It was kind of crazy coming down the stretch. The injuries bug that hit them, that they were down like 2 or 3 starters by the end. So DeBonsa was out there doing everything for them, just with Robert Wright, the other point guard. And that's kind of why you see a lot of high turnover games out of him, but that doesn't really concern me. Every superstar in the league averages high turnovers. That's just what you're going to get when you have the ball in your hands at all times. So, my NBA comp for AJ DeBonsa. Now, this might come as a slight to some people, and some people might not like this comp, and you might be disappointed in this comp. But this player also went number 1 overall in the NBA draft about over 10 years ago. My comp for DeBonsa is a better Andrew Wiggins. Yes, I'll say that again. A better, bigger Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins has had a fine NBA career. The guy's like an 18-4-2. I expect DeBonsa to put up better stats than that. But if you look back early on Wiggins' career, he was averaging like 23, 5-3 on Minnesota for a couple years. I absolutely think DeBonsa, that's kind of the projection stats that I am betting on him to put up in the league. I see this guy as definitely like a 23, 7-4, 5 guy on a good team eventually, not right away, but and Wiggins is a way better defender too. I want to say that before people take offense to the Andrew Wiggins comp. Andrew Wiggins was the 3rd best player on a championship team in 2022. People forget that he locked up the other team's best player many times. He was the Tatum and Brown stoppers in that NBA Finals of the Celtics Warriors a couple years back. So don't let anyone forget that Wiggins had a brief stint as the 3rd best player on a championship team. So if DeBonsa can even win a championship and be one of the 2 or 3 best players, I mean, I think that's a win for your career. So I think he will have a better career than Andrew Wiggins. I don't know if Wiggins has ever really fully hit his ceiling. But in terms of the shooting ability and kind of stylistically how they look, that is the comp I'm giving AJ DeBonsa. And I think it's a better, bigger, stronger version of Andrew Wiggins with the tools to hit that defensive ceiling. Wiggins will always be a better defender than DeBonsa can reach, but the tools are there for DeBonsa to improve defensively because he's going to have to be a wing defender in the NBA. That is the position he's going to play. He will likely be the small forward at the 3 position. So, all right, moving on. I expect DeBonsa to go first overall. Let's go back to my big board. All right, another blue chipper. Now, I've gone back and forth on putting this guy number 1 on my big board. That is Caleb Wilson out of North Carolina, the power forward out of North Carolina. This guy is 6'10" and looks taller than that. He might still be growing. I mean, he's 19 years old, staying at 6'10", has a freakish body, looks like Giannis out there. That's not going to be the comp I give him because that's a little too extreme, but the potential is there. The ceiling is absolutely there. This guy is my favorite player to watch in the whole draft class. And if I had to pick a player who has the highest ceiling of all, it's definitely Caleb Wilson. And if he reaches it, man, just an absolute two-way superstar this guy can be. That is why my NBA comp for him is Evan Mobley. Because I think Evan Mobley is kind of the in-between of like a poor man's Giannis versus hitting your ceiling of what Giannis could be. Mobley's still ascending, too. Mobley is coming off a really good playoffs, his best NBA playoffs, where I don't think that's a bad comp anymore. I think Caleb Wilson can absolutely be Evan Mobley on a good team in a few years, and even a more offensively talented Evan Mobley. I think the shot is a little further along than Mobley's was a couple years ago, and I think the playmaking is way further along than Mobley's was a few years ago. Mobley still doesn't really put it on the floor much. Wilson can absolutely put the ball on the floor and a little bit of a decent ball handler, has a really good turnaround mid-range jump shot. That's like one of his best highlight plays. I expect that to be his game in the NBA. That's why. So yeah, Evan Mobley is my comp. Somewhere in between Mobley and Giannis is what I think his ceiling can be. Again, I'm not going to call him Giannis, but let's go over the stats. He averaged 19.8 points per game, 9.4 rebounds per game, 2.7 assists per game, 1.4 steals, and 1.5 blocks. Just an animal at the defensive end. A long wingspan, 7-foot wingspan. 7-foot wingspan this guy has. And he's a leader. He's a winner. He's a character. He's a high character guy. Everything you hear about this guy is that he always has a big smile on his face and he's an unbelievable teammate. That stuff matters at the next level. He's a guy you want to bring into your locker room and he's going to make a difference right away. I love Caleb Wilson as a prospect. It won't be surprising if I end up having him first on my big board, but right now we're keeping him at second because I just think Devontae is a little safer of a pick. Last note on Wilson, he shot 57% from the field. Yes, 57% from the field. Only 26% from three. However, the shot looks good, and I have more confidence that he's going to develop a three-point shot and be able to space the floor. I think he will play the four. And he's a 71% free throw shooter, which is good enough. Again, that checks the box. That's fine. You can always improve. Like I said, the form is good. The athleticism is there. The motor is there. He dunks on dudes. And yeah, again, if the shot is real, it could be scary. And I think he has the highest ceiling of all these players. So, all right, number 3, Cam Boozer. So, Cameron Boozer is a really unique prospect because he's one of those players where it's like he was the best player in high school, he was the best player in college, and he's always been a winner, always been a leader at the highest level. His dad is Carlos Boozer, which is actually my NBA comp for him. We'll talk about that in a second. I hope people better not get offended to that because Carlos Boozer is a 17-9 career player. So that is an absolute win if Cam Boozer becomes a 17-9 for career. Had many big time moments. So that is my direct comp for his son because he just bodies dudes down low, just physically bruises guys down in the paint. But that is why Boozer is third to me because I think his ceiling is a little lower than guys like Devontae and Wilson, but he's almost the safer pick. Like, there's no world where Cam Boozer is not a good, productive NBA starter. Like, I just don't see it. I see his floor being like, we just called what his dad averaged. I see Cam Boozer's floor as like 16-7 and like 3 assists on a good playoff team. And this is what he put up in college. 22.5 points, 10.2 rebounds, 4.1 assists, 1.4 steals, 0.6 blocks, and not the best defender. Doesn't blow you away with athleticism or like speed, but he is just an unstoppable physical force down low, kind of like how Paolo was a couple years ago, Banchero for Duke. he kind of just bruises guys in the paint, and they cannot stop him. And now, I do get a little worried about that at the next level because part of me is kind of asking, like, okay, what's going to be his go-to scoring move? Like, just bullying dudes to the paint, back to the basket? Like, guys are bigger and stronger than you at the next level when in college you are still the biggest guy at 6'9", like 253. Yeah, 253 pounds. That is LeBron size right there. So I do worry what his like go-to scoring move will be at the next level, but the IQ this guy plays with, the leadership, the family he comes from, the level of winner that he has been at all levels of basketball, I feel very confident saying Cam Boozer is going to be a great NBA player and a multi-time All-Star. Even if he doesn't reach an All-NBA ceiling that guys like DeBonta and Wilson have, this feels like maybe the safest pick in the draft, and he could fall to 3, which feels like tremendous value. Like I said, my comp is Carlos Boozer. Go watch the tape if anybody gets offended at that, because Big Boozer was a beast, man. And Cam Boozer should be very proud to have the career that his dad put out. So, yeah. 55% from the field, 39% from 3, which is a great sign. However, only on a low number of attempts, so you'd like to see that go up. But 79% free throw shooter. All the numbers were fantastic. All the production was fantastic. It's one of those things where it's like, are we overthinking it? And maybe this guy should just go number 1. I wouldn't be surprised if he does become the best pro simply out of just being the best at every level. Like, he was the best high schooler. He was the best college player. So maybe he'll be the best NBA player too. But when you look at the tools and the ceilings, I think you got to take guys like DeBonta and Wilson ahead. And also, maybe this is just me, I value head-to-head games and head-to-head matchups in college basketball. Caleb Wilson beat Cam Boozer this year in a game and where their stats were pretty similar. They both put up like 20 points on decent efficiency. And North Carolina won the game. It was the buzzer beater that Seth Trimble hit where they beat Duke. So I do value like a head-to-head win a little bit. So I do kind of give Wilson the edge because I thought he outplayed Cam Boozer in that game. He was unavailable and hurt in the second game, but that's why I give Wilson the edge over Boozer. All right, now we're moving into my next tier. So this is the all-star tier of guards that I think will be consistent all-stars in their career, multi-time. Number 4 is Darius Acuff, the point guard out of Arkansas. Now, this guy was one of the most fun players to watch in all of college basketball this past season. If you like watching offense and just like elite point guard play, shooting from deep, any range, this guy plays like Kyrie Irving, and that is my NBA comp for him. That is Darius Acuff from Arkansas, true freshman, 19 years old, averaged 23.5 points, 3.1 assists, 23.5 points, 3.1 rebounds, 6.4 assists. Man, that is getting it done. That is elite level production for a true freshman in college. I mean, you got to look back at like guards like Trae Young, who put up numbers like that, which Trae's were better than that. But work with me here in terms of like comping statistical output at the next level. Now, Acuff is a little undersized. Now, they list him at 6'2", 6'3", which is about the same height as Kyrie. The ball handling reminds me of Kyrie. The shooting ability reminds me of Kyrie. The score first point guard, but so fundamentally skilled at other aspects of basketball and speed. Speed shooting combination is just elite that he possesses. Now, Darius Acuff is not going to play much defense, so that is going to be something where you're going to need him to go to a team that has an off-ball guard who can defend, which is, you see a lot of those. It's not a knock on him. There's plenty of players like that. I mean, look at guys like Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Halliburton, Donovan Mitchell. Those are small guards who are elite on offense at what they do and can be the engine on a very good NBA team. However, they need that secondary guard to lock up the other team's best player because they're not going to provide the same level of defense that guys like I've used Cade Cunningham as an example because he's a big, strong point guard who can guard the other team's best player if he has to. Shea is the same way. Shea Gilgeous, 6'6", can guard the other team's best player if he has to. Ant-Man can guard the other team's best player if he has to. So it's like that's the difference between offensive engines, small, like undersized point guards versus combo guards who are a little more physically gifted. But the 44% three-point shooting, 48 from the field, 80% from free throw, only 2.2 assists, a 6.4 turnover, or 2.2 turnovers, a 6.4 assists. I mean, that is some elite level production that you don't see often in college. So I always say the games have to matter, and that is why I have this guy above our next prospect, who is Darren Peterson, because I just worry a little bit about Darren Peterson. I worry how bought in he is, how much of a good team player he is, whether he's just interested in his own individual stats or not, because you did see a lot of hero ball at Kansas. You saw a lot of kind of solo play at Kansas where his numbers kind of tailed off towards the end. Still put up 20.2 points per game, 4.2 rebounds, only 1.6 assists, though, to the same amount of turnovers. So you'd ideally like to see that go up, see better playmaking from a two guard like that, say at 6'6", because people have comped this guy to Kobe Bryant. And if you're going to toss out Kobe Bryant comps, like, you got to be just the elite level shot maker, the tough as nails guard, unafraid of anything, athletic specimen, unafraid of the moment, high volume shooter, high volume scorer, who's literally like can disrupt the game and break down a defense on your own. That is what you have to be if you want to be Kobe Bryant. I am comping him to Bradley Beal because I think the talent's still there, the scoring ability's still there, but how much he wants to win and affect winning on a team, on the team game, is still up in the air, and that's to be decided. I did not love his season at Kansas. I did not love his body language, kind of the in and out of the lineup stuff with the injuries, the creatine. Bill Self didn't love it either, but you see him make shots, you see the athleticism pop, and you're like, I get it. Yeah, I understand why people are salivating. I'm still seeing mocks where this guy is first, where this guy's goes number one, which I find that crazy because I think if you are handing a player the keys to your franchise, you got to be dead certain that they are fully bought in and want to be there and want to change the culture of your franchise, because that's super important at a number one pick, even a top 5 pick. So I have Peterson lower. I have him 5th because I still think the talent is there. The offensive engine is there. Some of the shots he hit in that first round of the March Madness, I forget who Kansas was playing, but I was like, holy crap, this guy's lethal. So when he's on, he's on. But when he had some bad games, they were loud. And you could see the body language. And I would say it was a little disappointing season. So I have to have him a little lower because I'm just a little worried. It would scare me as a GM drafting him. But if he falls to you, certainly in like the top 5 or 6, you definitely have to take him because of the elite talent that he is. All right, last all-star guard here. Now, this one's interesting. This is my first, this might be a polarizing take here. So, Michael Brown Jr. out of Louisville. This guy, I have this guy higher than most. He's also, it's actually listed at 6'5", so that's probably height without shoes. So, in shoes, he's 6'5", which I give him better. He has great size for a point guard. Elite size and strength for a point guard. 6'7" wingspan, 20.2, true freshman. Coming off a little bit of an injury-plagued season at Louisville where he really got out to a hot start, and I kind of value that more than the end and kind of tanked some of his numbers. That is why I think this guy has all-star guard potential. And watching him play, watching his feel for the game, how he kind of plays at his own pace. You guys know this is my favorite player in the NBA, but I'm tossing out this comp for him. I see a lot of Cade Cunningham in this guy's game. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Cade. I mean, Cade just made All-NBA first team, so Cade is a top 5 player in the world, in my opinion. But I think Michael Brown Jr. has the same tools that Cade does. And when I watch his highlights, when I watch his film, I see the same college Oklahoma State version of Cade that I saw back then. And he plays like him. The tall, methodical point guard kind of plays at their own pace. He actually has a little more speed than Cade does. He kind of plays at a faster pace than Cade does, which is interesting because Cade has always been known for kind of playing at his own pace. And Michael Brown's ability to speed up, slow down, throw off a defense, hit a step back, drive into the paint, penetrate, kick out. He really has a nice feel for the game. He's a very high IQ player. Super creative initiator. I think he is a lead guard in the NBA. I value lead guards above secondary combo guards because I think that's like your lead guard almost has to, I don't want to say be your best player, but like be one of your best players, because if they're not, I don't know how far they can really take you. I don't know how far you're really going in the playoffs without one of the best point guards. So again, Cade Cunningham's my comp for him. Let's go over the stats. The stats are a little similar if you really break down their college numbers too. Obviously, Cade put up better numbers and was an All-American at Oklahoma State, but the last game of the season that Michael Brown played, he hit like no shots at all, was like 2 of 10 from the field, like 0 of 7 from 3, and it really just tanked his efficiency. So look at these numbers with a grain of salt here. 18.2 points per game, 3.3 rebounds, 4.7 assists, 1.2 steals, 3.1 turnovers, which that kind of definitely reminds me of Cade because you're always trying to do too much with the ball, turnover at a high clip. But when your teammates aren't the best, that's kind of what happens in college. So 41% shooter from the field. Again, that's pretty low, but the last couple games kind of tanked that. 34% from deep. 34% from 3. However, that was on 7 attempts. This guy can bang threes. This guy can absolutely drill threes from deep. He can pull up from any range and hit them. He's not one of those three-point shooters where it's like 34% on like 3 attempts, and it's like he takes super long to load his three-point shots only if no one's within his range. This guy was like literally just pulling up from deep, like dribble pull-ups, coming off screens. So I believe in the three-point shot. I think that's going to be a factor in his game, and I think it's going to keep developing kind of a lot like how Cade's has developed since coming to Detroit, coming out of Oklahoma State. But, yeah, that is kind of – I just see a lot of similar stylistically play to Cade Cunningham, and I think this guy has a very high ceiling as a 6'5" starting point guard. He can make multiple All-Star games. Again, I'm not saying he's going to be All-NBA first team like Cade, but that's the comp I see when I watch the film and how they move on the court, how they play, how they facilitate, how they move at their own pace. So, yeah. All right, moving on to my high-end starter tier now. So these are guys, like we said, these are guys I think will be very good starters on good teams, maybe make a couple random All-Star games. First guy. Now, this is the first sophomore on the list. We're coming off all freshmen. Those guys are all true freshmen. LeBaron Philon out of Alabama. This guy is elite, man. This guy, I think, might be the most underrated prospect in this draft class, and I kept moving him up and up. I can't believe he ended at 7, but here we are. Guy's only 20.6 years old, true sophomore, coming off a phenomenal season at Alabama where he carried them. He carried that team, averaging 22 points, 3.5 assists, or 3.5 rebounds, 5 assists per game, 1.2 steals, shooting 50% as a guard. 50% from the floor as a guard in college is insane. 39% from deep, 79% from free throw. Elite efficiency all around. He improved his three-point shot from 31 to 40 in 1 year from his freshman to sophomore year. Only 2.5 assists per game. The athleticism this guy has, the court vision, the bounce in his game, 63% true shooter. His ability to get to the rim and penetrate is one of the best in this draft class. I could not throw him in the tier above, but just because he's a sophomore, but I am not as worried about his age. I think that's kind of just an excuse for not drafting him super high. I wanted to get him in the top 10. My player comp for him is Darius Garland, bigger Darius Garland though. However, this guy's listed at 6'4". Darius Garland's only 6'1", but if you watch them play, they look the same in how they penetrate the paint, how they get in the paint, how they pull up from deep. The jump shot looks similar. So that's the kind of point guard I think Philon can be in the NBA. I think I mocked him to the Heat a couple weeks ago, but I think he's going to go higher. One of the teams that needs a true point guard, don't be afraid to take this guy just because he's a sophomore. He is phenomenal. This is probably the highest I've had him. I think I had him 14th last week, just outside or 15th, just outside the lottery. I had to get this guy in my top 10 because he's that good. All right, number 8, moving on. Braden Burries. Now, this is a fun guard who I think is going to play on a ton of playoff teams and big games for his whole career. So 6'4" guard out of Arizona. This is a true 2. This is a true shooting guard, and I really like how he plays. He brings it defensively. He can create off the dribble. He can facilitate. He can pass. He can shoot threes, 39% from deep, 49% from the field. I think this guy could have averaged more points at Arizona, but he really was kind of holding back because they were so good of a team. He averaged 16.1 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.5 steals. He brings it defensively. He might be the best guard defender in this draft class. I think I will label him that. I think he is the best defensive player, best guard defender in this draft, and I think you're getting a very good two-way player by drafting Burries. I think he's an absolute competitor. I think he's a dog. I'm not saying he's like Steph Castle, but I think that could be a comp for him. Derek White is my official comp. I'm going to say Derek White is like my official comp of what I think he can be on a good team someday, like the role he plays for the Celtics. Steph Castle is better. I think Steph Castle has a higher ceiling, and we clearly see that now, what he's doing on the Spurs. But, like, that's a good comp as well. Steph Castle, for what Braden Burries could be, kind of played a similar role at UConn as Burries did last year for Arizona. So, dang, maybe I'm switching my comp to Castle right now. But either way, Derek White, Castle, similar guards anyway. But that's kind of what I see out of Burries, just kind of an elite off-ball 2 guard who can lock up the other team's best player. All right, moving on. Number 9. This is my other point guard that I am higher on than a lot. That is Christian Anderson out of Texas Tech. True sophomore. However, the height keeps getting lower. I think he was like 6'3" during the season. Then he was 6'2". Now he's apparently 6'1". So, and now here we're looking at 6 foot maybe. So I don't know. Keeps going down, but I'm not as worried about that because this guy is super fast and quick, and an elite shooter too. He's an elite 3-point marksman. And he's also a true point guard who looks to facilitate first. He averaged 7.4 assists, which was 3rd in the nation, 3rd in college basketball this past season. Also putting up 18.5 assists per game, or points per game, with 3.6 rebounds, 1.5 steals, shooting 47% from the field, 41% from deep on 7 attempts. Yes, 7 attempts from 3-point land per game, shot 41% on those attempts. That's elite, man. That is insane level production from the 3-point mark. 80% free throw shooter, which is a great sign. I always want to see that. Did average 3.3 assists. However, 3.3 turnovers. However, when you're putting up 7.4 assists, you'll live with those 3 turnovers. Again, the high usage players, high volume players, you will live with high turnovers from your best players. It's normal. Now, I've had more trouble coming up with a comp for Christian Anderson because I kind of see a lot of Darius Garland in his game too, and he's actually more of the size that Darius Garland is, but I think Phylon has the higher ceiling and is the better player of the two, which is why I would kind of give him Garland, but I guess Dennis Schroeder could be a comp for Anderson. However, Schroeder's not a shooter that Anderson is. Anderson's a way better 3-point shooter and more athletic too, but their ability to get to the paint, their court vision, their passing ability, the size, their kind of level of intensity on defense, that is what reminds me of Dennis Schroeder. So that's kind of my comp for Anderson. But I see a lot of Darius Garland in his game too. And Phylon and Anderson are really similar. So the ultimate highest ceiling comp for those players, I did not want to throw this name out there, but Damian Lillard is kind of what the best version of those guards could become. Phylon and Anderson, like elite point guards who are also elite shooters. That is Dame Lillard, who is like a 6'2", 6'3" point guard. So that's kind of the ultimate ceiling of what those players could be. But for Anderson, I'll just go Dennis Schroeder. All right, moving on. Number 10. So this is a guy that I'm a little lower on than the rest. And it's not to be like super negative. Like, that is Keaton Wagler. I still got him in my top 10 here, but it sounds like this guy is going 5th overall to the Clippers is what it sounds like. They want to take him to pair him with Darius Garland, who we just talked about. But I'm a little concerned about this guy because I went back and rewatched the tape and was not as impressed as I was during the season. I know the numbers he put up were great. Like 18 points per game, 5.1 rebounds, 4.2 assists. Not a very good defender. The shooting percentage landed at 44% from the field, but a lot of those are jump shots and three-point shots, mid-range shots. 39% from deep, 79% from a free throw, 1.8 assists, which is fine. The thing that scares me about this player is he's not a super athlete. Like, he's not a big-time athlete, and he's not a good defender, which is kind of might be his role in the Clippers if they were to theoretically take him at 5 and pair him next to Darius Garland, who also cannot defend. But like this thing says, the offensive skill is undeniable. He has deep range. He can kind of do it all. He reminds me of Austin Reeves. That's the comp I'm going to give him, is Austin Reeves, because kind of just I don't want to say he doesn't have a point guard, but he's kind of like a combo 2 guard, standing at 6'5", same height as Reeves. Can do a little bit of shooting, do a little bit of playmaking, not really going to provide much burst or defense, not an above the rim player. So that is what worries. And the last thing that worries me about Wagler is he wasn't a high recruit. I'm pretty sure he was like a 3-star recruit coming into Illinois and just kind of blew up onto the scene last year and just had a really good year. So take that as you may. Again, that could be a risky pick in the top 5. That's why I've got him a little lower, but again, the production was there. And as someone who believes the games have to matter, this guy led his team to the Final Four and was the best player on the Final Four team and beat Houston in a game that I was very impressed by. So I got to give him some respect there. But without the athleticism and the burst, I don't really know what his true position is going to be at the next level. And if he is the 2 for the Clippers, they really might struggle defensively, and he's going to have to improve on that end of the floor. All right, moving on. Number 11. Now, you guys know me and Houston guards. I love Houston guards. I love drafting a guard out of Houston. Marcus Sasser plays for my team, the Pistons. Love that guy. The guy is a winner. The guy's tough as nails. You won't find better coached players. You won't find hard-working players like Houston guards. Any Houston player. We're going to get to a Houston big man in a couple minutes. But Kingston Flemings, 6'4" point guard out of Houston, was a top 10 recruit last year. It was the first year Houston really relied on true freshmen with Sanak Jr. and Flemings, and it really went well. Like, they had a lot of success. It was obviously kind of came up short of Houston standards, but they were still 2 seeds. So, and the numbers Flemings put up were better than I thought he was going to do. 16.1 points per game, 4.1 rebounds, 5.2 assists, 1.5 steals. This guy's a good defender. This guy's lockdown clamps defender. All the Houston guards are. I mean, you will see that. Like, the comp I'm giving him is, let me make sure I have the same one. Yeah, Andrew Nembhard. Andrew Nembhard is the comp I give Flemings because that's literally who this guy is. That's what he represents. Plays hard at all times, tough as nails, not afraid of the moment, not afraid to take big-time shots, not afraid to guard the other team's best player. I think he's going to play off ball at the next level. That's the difference for me. That's why I have him a little lower than the lead guards like Mikael Brown and Phylon guys. I think this guy's an off ball 2 guard, and I think he's going to be the lock up the other team's best player, really be the secondary creator, the secondary ball handler, if you will, and also can step out and shoot a 3, which he shot at 38% this past year. So yeah, that is what I got for Flemings. Andrew Nembhard is my player comp. That's a great player comp because that guy plays harder than anyone out there. That guy brings it every night. And that's what you can expect out of Houston guards who are coached by Kelvin Sampson. So, all right, moving on. Yeah. So that's why I have Flemings a little lower because I don't think he's a lead guard. I think he's a 2 guard and probably like an off-ball combo guard. But yeah, I love the Andrew Nembhard, Jalen Suggs type of comp because I think that's kind of the perfect role for him on a good team in the NBA. All right, number 12, our first center, our first true big man of the draft, big board. That is Hans Steinbach out of Washington. Hans Steinbach out of Washington. This guy is 6'11". This guy had a very productive season. This guy had a phenomenal season. Led the nation in rebounding. Led the entire NCAA in rebounds at 11.8 per game, 18.5 points per game, 1.6 assists, 1.1 blocks, 1.2 steals, could good solid average defender down low, not like an elite rim protector, but the offensive talent this guy is for a big man is undeniable, and I think that's kind of going to be his role in the NBA is like an Alperen Sengun type of big man. That is my comp for him. Similar build, similar style, similar size. Great rebounder, can facilitate a little bit, can be a playmaker as a big man, can step out and shoot the three too. He actually shot 34% from deep on like 2 attempts, which that's encouraging as a 6'11" big man, because if you're doing that in college, I'm pretty confident the shot will be a lot better in 3 years in the NBA. So 57% from the field overall is also elite. That's some dominant finishing around the rim, touch around the basket, and a 75% free throw shooter. That's a very good sign. Hans checks all the boxes of a pure, strong starting big man in the NBA. Again, Alperen Sengun is my comp. I don't think he's going to reach that same ceiling and be an all-star like Sengun is. I mean, Sengun just averaged like 21, 10, and 6 or something. So like that's a ways to go for Steinbach, but I definitely could see this guy as like a 15 and 10, 16 and 10 type of guy at the next level with a couple assists. I value centers a little lower than other positions, so maybe he's a little lower on my big board than others, but I do think this guy's a lottery talent. I do think some center-needy team is going to take him, and he's going to be really good. I think he's going to be really good for a long time, even if he's not like an all-star. So, all right, 13. The last two guys in this tier of high-end starter are like, I don't want to call them failed lottery picks, but just like, not fit, that's a bad term. 5 stars, like not failed 5 stars, but just like big time high recruits who didn't necessarily have the best season in college and probably didn't put up like more raw potential, raw prospects who still have to hit their ceilings and more of a project. We'll call them projects. Yeah, that's what we do in NFL. So I'll call this guy's projects. So Nate Ament is the first project here, but this guy's a tall, versatile wing who can really do it all in theory. On paper, he does it all at a high level. However, he didn't really do anything at a high level at Tennessee. He did average 16, 6, and 2 assists, but he did it on 39% shooting at 6'10". That's not great. Again, 6'10", shooting under 40% is not good. Anyone shooting over 40% is not good. 33% from deep, 79% from free throws, encouraging. Jump shot looks all right. The form looks good. He's a fun player to watch. I mean, the athleticism's there. He is smooth when he's clicking. Like, if you watch Tennessee on a good day, like when he was having a good game, you would think this guy's Jalen Johnson on the Hawks. Like, literally. Like, that is kind of the build, and that is how he plays stylistically and, like, kind of what he can do. And, like, the best possible version of what Nate Ament is looks like Jalen Johnson on the Atlanta Hawks right now. However, I'm not giving him that comp because he has to earn that. Jalen Johnson just made All-NBA. Nate Ament's got a long ways to go in terms of that. My comp for him is Kyle Kuzma. And again, that is kind of – people might laugh at that now because Kuzma's kind of had a fall off the past couple of years. But Kuzma still won a finals on the Lakers. And Kuzma has had an overall good career. They actually have the same numbers. Kuzma's career is 16, 6, and 2 as well, which is what Nate Ament put up at Tennessee. I thought that was funny, but – same size, same height, like a 6'9", 6'10", small forward / power forward. Kind of an inefficient three-point shooter, but can still step out and make one when needed. They both shoot like 33%. I like this guy's game. I like his attitude. Every interview I saw, I believe in this kid's work ethic. I believe in this kid's heart. I think he's going to work his ass off to hit his ceiling and get there at the next level. I would have loved for him to come back to Tennessee another year because I think he could stand to develop even more, and I think it would be better for him, and he could go even higher. I still think he's a lottery pick based on talent alone, but he's got a lot to work on, and he might not play a lot right away next year. And it could be ugly right away. So we'll see. But that's all I got on Nate Ament. Next player in this high-end starter kind of project tier is Kristen Egg Jr. So, again, drafting Houston players, you can feel good about that. You can feel good and confident about drafting a player out of Houston. Drafting a kid out of Houston, you know he's going to show up on time. You know he's going to work hard. You know he's going to have a good attitude. You know he's going to be a team player and sacrifice for others. That's what Kelvin Sampson has instilled at Houston. That's the culture he has set there, which I love. And, you know, they've kicked my Cincinnati Bearcats ass for the last, 13 straight games or something like that. I think I want to say they've beaten us 13, 14 straight times in a row. So I have nothing but respect for the Houston Cougars program and what Sampson has built there. And every player to come out of Houston just brings it and honestly just gets it. I know that's cliche to say, but look at what Jamal Shed was doing for the Raptors a couple weeks ago in the playoffs. Guy just diving for loose balls, leaving on the floor. That's what, Flemings did that, and Chris Sinek does that too as a big man. 6'11" big man, only put up 9.5 points per game, 7.9 rebounds, only 0.5 blocks, which is, underwhelming for sure. However, this guy's a 7'5" wingspan. And the player comp I give him at the NBA is Khalil Ware out of the Miami Heat. They're similar style big man, similar build, 6'11", scrawny, pretty slim for a center, but still big enough, 240. 19 years old, can both shoot threes a little bit. So that's the thing about Sinek. Sinek only shot 48% from the field, which is probably underwhelming as a 6'11" center. However, he was 33% from deep on 2.4 attempts. Yeah, so 2.4 attempts. I believe he hit 33s during the season at 33%. 62% from free throw is underwhelming. You'd like to see that improve and go up a lot. So I don't think the shot looks perfect yet, but it is definitely getting there. That's why my comp for him is Khalil Ware, because I think that's kind of like an inside-out big who can stretch the floor a little bit, play good defense, block shots, long wingspan, but still kind of has some developing to do, which Khalil Ware is currently doing in the NBA as well. Kind of not a full-time starter yet either. So that's where I got Sinek as my last kind of lottery prospect here. All right, now we're getting into the top 15. All right, this is the rotational starter tier. So Malik Thomas here out of Arkansas. I was kind of unfamiliar with this guy's game until recently. Talking to a buddy who lives in Arkansas who went to a ton of Hogs games. Shout out Justin Frank. He was telling me to watch this guy's tape, and he's a super fun shooting guard to watch. Super, super athletic, super quick, kind of plays out of control, but also is in control at the same time, if that makes sense. It's kind of an interesting player to watch because as I flipped on his tape, I was like, this guy looks like he's just out of control and doesn't know where he's going, doesn't know what he's doing. And then the shot goes in or the pass goes to the right guy and he makes the right play. So it's kind of funny because I was like, oh, he's just out of control. This is going out of bounds. That's not good. And then the shot goes in. And so it's like he succeeds. I think that's just how he looks and how he plays. Just kind of a little fast paced. I don't want to say too out of control, but he might just be that quick and that athletic, but the numbers are good. So it's one of those things where it's if it passes the eye test and then you check the stats, maybe he is good. 15.6 points per game, 3.8 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 1.5 steals, 43% from the field, which is, probably lower than you'd like, but if you're a 6'5" shooting guard and you're taking a lot of perimeter shots, your shooting percentage is naturally going to be lower. This guy shot 5 threes a game and hit them at 41%. So that's a great clip. That's a fantastic clip right there. 84% from free throw as well and doesn't turn the ball over. So he looks like he's about to turn the ball over, but then he doesn't. So that's kind of the what I took away from his tape. So really fun player. I don't know how high his ceiling is, but my comp for him right now, this might be a lazy comp, but I'm giving him Trey Johnson out of the Wizards. Kind of a similar projection last year that I gave Trey Johnson, who I thought, I don't want to say had an underwhelming season on the Wizards, but I kind of expected a little more out of Trey. So I kind of lowered his ceiling a bit, but that's kind of where I'm giving Malik Thomas, similar shooting guard, just a true shooting guard, score first. That is what they are out there for. Shooting the threes, shooting the mid-range, microwave, whatever you need out of them. Probably a bench scorer on a good team. That's kind of why I threw this guy in the rotation. Can be a starter, but probably a bench scorer on a playoff team. And yeah, that's what Trey Johnson is likely going to be in his career. And I think Malik Thomas, that's my comp for him right now. So, all right. Moving on, number 16, I have Isaiah Evans, who is a shooting guard / small forward combo wing. Definitely a wing player. Sometimes he's listed at 6'6", 6'7", so he's taller and longer than people realize. Good wingspan, 6'9" wingspan. This guy has very good length and very good size for the wing position. He might play the 2 at the next level because he's super scrawny and kind of lean, slim. Only 186 pounds. You like to see him put on a little bit of weight. This guy's comp is Jordan Poole, but like the good version, like Warriors version of good Poole, of Jordan Poole. And that is my comp for him because he's like a hot and cold shooter. Like he had some games at Duke where he could not miss and just like pulling up from anywhere, like microwave heat check guy. Like that is what I see out of Evans. Not a good ball handler, not a good creator. You don't really want the ball in this guy's hands unless he's throwing up a shot, to be honest. 15, 3, and 1. Plays decent defense, so I think he's an underrated defender, and his size and length helps that. 0.7 blocks, 0.7 steals, 43% field goal shooter, 36% from deep, but that went up to like 7 attempts, and some of the attempts, he takes some wildly difficult shots, probably some shots that are questionable, and you probably don't want him shooting that, so I think his shooting percentage dipped a little bit, but his freshman year, he shot 41% from 3 from Duke, and that was kind of just catch and shoots. So he was kind of doing more like coming off screens, coming off flares this season. But he's a sniper, man, and his form is lethal. His form is legit. Only 20 years old, true sophomore, has been part of two winning culture teams, two very good 1-seed teams at Duke. So you know this guy's a winner. You know he has a good attitude. 86% free throw shooter. Doesn't turn the ball over much, but again, you don't really want the ball in his hands too much other than just shooting. So yeah, I'm giving him Jordan Poole because I kind of see a similar attitude as well. Like this guy kind of brings it and kind of wants the spotlight, loves being the star. But sometimes that can also go negative in a game, depending on the emotions and how well you're playing. So I wouldn't mind if Isaiah Evans was there for the Pistons. That's kind of one of the players I've circled for the Detroit Pistons of who I want for them. But I see this guy being a productive shooter, whether he's coming off the bench or in a starting role on some teams. So, all right, moving on. Number 17, I have Merez Johnson Jr. out of Michigan. Now, this is the highest Michigan player I have. A lot of people are going to have Yaxel higher. A lot of people are going to have Ade Mara higher. I'm not as high on those guys. I think this is the best pro prospect on that team. And when I go back and rewatch Michigan, this guy pops to me. This guy's athleticism, this guy's jumping ability, his defense, absolutely pops. He is 6'9", 6'10". He's only 20 years old. Built like a hoss, honestly. Just like 251 pounds, yoked up, 7'4" wingspan, elite defensive player, great shot blocker, 1.1 blocks per game. Averaged 13.1 points, 7.3 rebounds, 1.2 assists. Led the team in rebounds. That's a team, he averaged more rebounds than Mara, who's 7'2" did. And this guy's only 6'9". I think this guy's going to play a 4-5 combo, but he's going to be like an undersized center at the next level, if that makes sense. But the energy he plays with, the tenacity he brings, and the athleticism he plays with, he can definitely be a high energy big off the bench, whether he's starting on some team from time to time or just being that first big man off the bench. I think this guy reminds me of Colin Murray Boyles off the Toronto Raptors this past season. And Boyles has a way higher ceiling. Boyles is going to be a better pro. This guy's like the same age as Boyles, I believe. But in terms of like undersized center, like a 6'8", 6'9" center, high energy guy, just a beast on the offensive glass. Come in, bring energy, disrupt the game, disrupt the flow, get some steals, block some shots. That is going to be Merez Johnson's role in the NBA. And I have no doubt a team will find him and fall in love with him. And he will play an important role for a very good team. All right, next. Number 18, Bennett Sturts. Yes, this guy rocks. Bennett Sturts. Iowa, point guard out of Iowa, almost led his team to the Final Four this past season, but lost in the Elite Eight to Illinois. This guy was the point guard on Drake and then followed the coach McCollum to Iowa. He did it in the Missouri Valley, which is Drake, and then he did it against Big Ten competition, and he confirmed it. This guy is NBA ready. This guy gets it. This guy is going to bring it. This guy confirmed that he's going to be an NBA player. This guy has a role in the league. He's athletic enough. He's a good enough shooter. He has a high IQ, one of the highest IQs in the draft. He carried a massive load for Iowa all season long. I believe he was their only scorer in double figures. Like, he averaged 19.8 points per game. Yeah, 19.8 points per game, and the rest of their team averaged under 10 points per game. So he had to do it all for them, while also averaging 4.4 assists, 2.6 rebounds, to only 1.8 turnovers. So, like, that's not bad at all. And he still shot the ball at a 47% clip from the field, 36% from three, which that even kind of tailed off in the tournament a little bit down the stretch. He had a couple games where I think there was one tournament game where he shot 0 of 9 from deep and was just chucking. He does take some questionable shots. This guy is definitely like an Isaiah Evans heat check guy, but unlike Evans, who can't really create for himself, this guy can. This guy is a great ball handler. This guy can juke dudes and pull up from anywhere. Some of the shots he takes are like, have you scratching your head, and then it goes in. Then the ball goes in. So it's like some wild like Trae Young type of like shots off 1 foot. That's actually probably like not a player comp. He's not going to be Trae Young, of course, but like in terms of how they operate in offense and like just some of the difficult shots they take off like one leg fading away, that is kind of what Bennett Sturtz, the role he would play at the next level. My actual NBA comp for him is Peyton Pritchard. I think he can absolutely be Peyton Pritchard. I think he had a similar college career as Pritchard did in Oregon. So put up similar numbers. They both averaged 20 and 4 assists in their final year of college. I just think Bennett's a guy who gets it and is going to bring it. Tough, gritty guy, hard worker, not afraid of the moment, loves to take the shot, loves to take the big shot, wants the ball in his hands, has the confidence. This guy's confidence is undeniable. You want players like that who want to have the ball in their hands with the last shot. I just think this guy's going to be a productive player wherever he goes. I don't know if he's a high-end starter or just like a rotational big bench guy, but he reminds me of Peyton Pritchard. I think the ability to pull up from deep and just hit long, deep threes, contested threes, efficient, wild threes off catch and shoot. That's my comp for him. I love Bennett Sturtz. Again, another player I wouldn't mind falling to the Pistons and them taking him at pick 21. So, all right, that's all I got on Bennett Sturtz. He's also 6'4", too. I don't think I mentioned that, but yeah, good height. Yeah. All right. Now we get to Yaxel Lendenborg, who is a safe, smart pick. A 6'9" stretch wing who can, with a 7'3" wingspan, can play the 3 or the 4. The comp for him has been Tobias Harris throughout this time. I've seen everybody say that. That'll be my comp too. I definitely think he's like a Tobias Harris. However, I warn people that Tobias was a 5-star freshman coming out of Tennessee and was a lottery pick. So like, I don't think Yaxel is going to have the career that Tobias has had. I know Tobias gets made fun of a lot now, but this guy's still had a heck of an NBA career. He's like a 16-6 kind of guy. So if Yaxel can do that, I'll be impressed. I mean, he's already 24 years old, older than half the Pistons roster. So that's why I have him a little lower on my big board. But I mean, the production he just had, the season he just had, is undeniable. He just won the national championship, was the best player on the team that did so. So as someone who says games have to matter, this guy's NBA ready. This guy's ready to help a team right away. Could probably help a team in the playoffs right now. Averaged 15.1 points, 6.8 rebounds, 3.2 assists, 1 block, 1 steal, 51% shooter from the field, 37% from deep on 4.5 attempts. That went up a lot from his previous year. And an 82% free throw shooter. Again, this is just a culture guy. The leadership this guy brings, very well-rounded. You see it in every interview. Guy has a good head on his shoulders. I don't know if he's going to be like a improve much. Like, I think like you can expect his numbers to be like a 12, 5, and 2 guy, maybe like a rotational starter, but I don't think he has much of a ceiling. And I think going in the top 10 or even as a lottery pick is crazy to me because he's 24 years old. And it's like, I don't know how much better he's going to get, but a playoff team like in the back end of the first round like could definitely use him because he could help a team off the bench right away. So that's my 2 cents on Yaxel. All right, moving on. This player keeps going up my big board, and I was kind of lower on him a few weeks ago, but now coming off a really good draft combine, we got to get Cameron Carr in here at, 20? I think number 20. Cameron Carr from Baylor. This guy is a junior. I know he says sophomore there. He played 2 years at Tennessee. Redshirt sophomore. 6'5", true shooting guard. Like, this guy is a breakout scorer. This guy is just out there to score the ball, not really doing much else. Averaged 18.9 points per game, 5.8 rebounds, 2.6 assists on 49% from the field, 37% from deep on six attempts. Can light it up from 3, can pull up from anywhere, has deep range. He's just out there to score. He's not really much of a creator, not going to bring much else to a team. But that's kind of good. That's kind of that's okay because Baylor needed that this year. 80% free throw shooter. I'm trying to find my comp. Okay, so this comp for him, I've seen this a couple times. The NBA comp I keep seeing for him is Zach LaVine, and Zach LaVine has had a very polarizing NBA career because, like, if you look at the type of offensive numbers that LaVine puts up, he's like a 23 career point per game scorer on like 50% shooting and like 40% from 3. Like, it's incredible efficiency, just incredible numbers. However, there is zero other things that Zach LaVine brings to a team that is of value. And that's why he's literally played in 1 playoff series in his entire career and does not play defense, doesn't bring anything else. So I don't mean this to say that like Cameron Carr is not going to be a productive winning player, can't help a team win. However, the offensive engine reminds me of Zach LaVine. The highlights remind me of Zach LaVine. Watching the tape, how he plays stylistically, how he shoots the basketball, looks just like Zach LaVine. However, if you cannot bring anything defensively or anything else to the table, that's kind of what you're going to get. He also is the same big-time athlete that LaVine is. Can dunk on dudes, can jump out the gym, 42.3 max vertical inch, which LaVine, we all knew what he did in the dunk contest many years back. So yeah, that is my comp for Cameron Carr. However, I think he could be more of a winning player than LaVine has been in his career. So we'll see. All right, moving on. Now, number 21, Cole Pete. All right, true freshman out of Arizona. Now, this guy is a big, strong wing. Kind of reminds you of a similar, so physical freshman with good size and length, strength, can kind of do it all. Played a good role on a very good Arizona team that he didn't really have to score a lot or kind of be like the main shooter, facilitate, but he kind of just brought it all to the table. Can plays great defense on the other end of the floor. Can rebound. Average 14.1 points, 5.6 rebounds, 2.6 assists, 0.7 blocks, 0.6 steals, 53% shooter from the field, 35% from deep, but only on a couple attempts per game. Like only on like very minimal attempts. Like I want to say like 1 attempt per game. The shot is not there yet, which concerns me. I have heard that at the NBA draft combine, this guy's shot did not look good. Another concerning sign of that is a 62% free throw rate, which is subpar. That's very inefficient. That would be lowest in the NBA this season for all qualified shooters. So the shot doesn't look great. I have this guy lower because I don't see as much, I don't know what his position is at the next level. And I would honestly prefer it if he came back to Arizona because I think he could develop that jump shot more and be a real 3 at the next level. Because staying at 6'7", I don't know if he's going to be able to play the power forward. I don't think he's like an Aaron Gordon, like I'm seeing a lot of comps, similar Arizona player way back when. I don't think this guy's Aaron Gordon. I don't think he's the level of athlete. Like Aaron Gordon, nearly won the dunk contest against Zach LaVine all those years back. My comp for him is Jarris Walker. And again, that might be offensive right now as Jarris Walker's not had the best start to his NBA career. However, I think he kind of found a role on the Pacers this past year. And over the span of the 82-game season, Jarris Walker's efficiency and his stats look a lot better than it did in the first month of the season. So, but that's kind of the style player I think he is. Like, I don't know if the jump shot's there. He's kind of a tweener, 3-4. But the size, and I don't know if he's just going to be able to use his brute strength to get to the rim like he did in college. And that's why I got Jarris Walker, because I think it's kind of just a tweener 3-4 who can bring some stuff to the table, kind of step out and shoot a three, but not as efficient as you'd really like. So yeah, Koa Pete still has a high ceiling. Again, he's only 19.4 years old. True freshman, was a high recruit. You know, big time, had a lot of success at Arizona. Big time game there, but not my favorite prospect, I guess. So, all right, moving on. All right, 22, I got Henry Vesar. I think this guy is like kind of getting slept on, and I had to get him into my first round here because the numbers this guy put up were kind of insane when you really boil it down. And I know he's a junior and kind of took a long time to develop in college. He's 22, 6'11", center out of North Carolina, coming off a really good season where he averaged 17 points per game, 8.7 rebounds, 2.1 assists, 1.2 blocks. He was an elite finisher around the rim. His field goal percentage on the season was 61%. And his three-point percentage on 3 attempts was 42%. Only a 61% free throw shooter. However, the three ball encourages me that his free throw is going to not be a problem in the NBA. Now, the comp I'm giving this guy, because of the stats he put up, if you go back and look at stats for this player at Gonzaga, Henry Vesar might be Kelly Olynyk 2.0. That is who he reminds me of. That is kind of how he looks like. I think Olynyk was like a little quicker, a little more athletic, but in terms of the numbers they put up, I want to say Olynyk in his junior year, his third year at Gonzaga, averaged literally 17, 8, and 2 and shot the three ball at 40%. We knew that was Kelly's thing coming out of Gonzaga. I think Vesar is going to absolutely be able to stretch the floor in the NBA. I don't know if he's a starting center for the long term, but Olynyk has been a very good backup center in his career and has been a rotational starter on decent teams. So that's my comp for him. I think Vesar can be a Kelly Olynyk in the NBA. Again, 6'11", 7'2" wingspan. Really came on strong late down the stretch of the season after Caleb Wilson got hurt. So I think that's reason to feel optimistic about his ceiling and his development overall. All right, moving on. A couple more players left. We're at 23 now. Abuka Okari from Stanford University, true freshman. This guy is a super small, undersized scoring two guard. I'm not calling him a point guard because I just don't think the facilitating's there. I don't think the ball handling is good enough. I don't think he can ever be a lead guard. And when you are that small at 6'1", you really have to be like an elite ball handler, an elite shooter, an elite playmaker, and have that court vision. I don't think he has it. So, however, his scoring ability, his scoring prowess, and his shooting, his scoring ability is lethal, man. This guy, I know he was on a bad Stanford team, but this guy put up 23 points per game, 3.6 rebounds, 3.6 assists, did turn the ball over twice a game, but 46% shooter from the field, 35% from deep. That's good enough, league average. 83% from free throw line. The scoring is there. However, the reason the player comp I'm giving this guy is Cam Thomas. He reminds me of Cam Thomas because Cam Thomas was the same thing at LSU, a small, undersized scoring guard who was like 6'2", put up a lot of points on okay efficiency, not like a marksman, not like absolute knockdown, like shots kind of inconsistent, comes and goes. You'd like to see ideally higher than 35% from three if you are that small of a shooting guard, because I don't think he can be a 1 or 2 on a starting team. I think he's probably like a backup, come off the bench type of guy. Another comp could be Marcus Sasser. Marcus Sasser could be a guy, could be another player comp for them, like a undersized combo guard who can shoot and score, but not really like provide much playmaking, much facilitating, much defense really. So that's kind of another comp for him is probably Marcus Sasser, somewhere in between him and Cam Thomas. Yeah, because I just worry about the size and kind of what all his overall position is going to be. But the talent was there, the scoring was there, and again, the stats were elite. So it's like maybe this guy's just going to be the microwave scorer off the bench for some really good team someday. Like a Jared McCain. Jared McCain could be a role. That's kind of an undersized two guard. All right. My last player in my rotation starter tier, and then we're going to get to the final tier, final five prospects. Zuby Ejiofor. I had to throw this guy in here. I know this guy's probably not going to go in the first round. You're probably going to see him in the second round. But I love Zuby. He's one of my favorite players in this draft. Well, he was one of my favorite players to watch in college basketball this past season. I even had St. John's in my national championship game. Man, if they were so close to beating Duke. If they just pulled off that Duke upset, I really think they would have gotten to the Final Four. But Zuby is just an absolute competitor, man. This is one of those culture guys that you're going to want to bring in your locker room. My comp for him is Obi Toppin because I think they are similar players at when he was at Dayton and what kind of the role that Zuby played for St. John's last year, where he was like the center, but he's kind of just like everything's flowing through him. The entire game is flowing through Zuby because he was clearly the best player on the team. 6'8", 6'9", played the center, but also is like the point guard. Can also like step out and shoot a little bit. Like I know Zuby's not the best 3-point shooter, only 30% on a couple attempts, but I think the shot looks good enough to where you can believe it could go in. 53% from the field, so he's great at getting to the paint, bodying dudes, super strong. Again, 6'9", 245 pounds. He's going to play a power forward. Could be a stretch center, stretch big man, like an undersized center off the bench for some good teams, kind of like Isaiah Stewart. Isaiah Stewart's another comp for him. That's a great comp for what Zuby could be, like a really fun culture guy and with a great attitude who leads by example, sets the example for others, and just kind of brings that intensity, whether it's off the bench or whether it's starting. The numbers he put up at St. John's for Pitino, also a Rick Pitino coach player you can always bet on. 16.3 points per game, 7.3 rebounds, 3.5 assists. 2.1 blocks. This guy blocked over 2 shots a game and 1.2 steals. Just an absolute defensive mastermind. Just an elite defender. He might have been Big 12, not Big 12. He might have been the Big East Defensive Player of the Year. I would have to go back and look that up. But I don't see a world where this guy's not a fun, like successful NBA player, where he doesn't find a role on a good team to help a team win. Jalen Williams, like tall Jalen Williams for the Thunder, that could be a comp, like a stretch big off the bench. Just brings energy, brings culture, a fan favorite. You know this guy will be a fan favorite 100%. So that's why I have a lot of faith that Zuby's going to figure it out, because I just think his attitude is where it needs to be. And I think the athleticism he plays with is unlike anybody. The energy he brings, that's why he reminds me of Obi Toppin. And I think that's kind of the perfect role for him that he can play on a team like the Indiana Pacers. So, all right. Now we're moving on. Last 5 prospects. This is the bench guys tier. So this is just players who I think are just kind of sole bench guys for their career. Alan Graves is the first one out of Santa Clara. Now this guy's starting to get a lot of attention. He's a true freshman, just kind of randomly burst onto the scene. He hit that big shot against Kentucky in March Madness in the first round. However, they lost that game the very next second later. But he's still under 20 years old, as you can see. 6'8", 7-foot wingspan, 226 pounds, a big physical, like two-way wing, who can also step out and shoot the three. Shot 41% from 3-point range, 51% from the field overall. However, he didn't even start for Santa Clara, which I don't know if that's like a good or bad sign. Again, they made the tournament and they had a really good season, but like I don't know how to rank that. I don't know where to put that, because like if you're not starting for a West Coast Conference team, like, and you kind of burst on the scene as a true freshman and weren't a high recruit, like, it's just questionable. It's a risky pick. So that's kind of why I have him a little lower in this. Only averaged 11.8 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, which led the team. Only 22 minutes led the team. That's kind of impressive. 1.8 assists, 0.9 blocks, 1.9 steals. The defense is definitely like his specialty, and like the offensive rebounding he brings. I definitely think like his ability to rebound like if you probably look at his per 40 minutes, they're probably insane levels of production. So like, I think the athleticism and like the body is why people are intrigued. 75% free throw shooter, which is good enough. My NBA comp for him is Georges Niang, and I know that's the build I see. Again, like that's not a sexy comp. You probably won't like that comp, but Georges Niang had a fine NBA career. Was like an 8-4, like a 9-4-1 guy as a 3-point specialist, expert elite marksman from three. Always shot 40% from deep. Played in a lot of playoff games. Played for some good teams as a rotational bench guy. So that is my comp for Allen Graves is Georges Niang, just kind of like a 6'8" power forward who can shoot the three, space the floor a little bit, come off the bench. But that's kind of the most I see for him. All right, moving on to next, 26. So this is a center I'm a little lower on, but I know he's maybe the tallest player in the draft. 7'3", Ade Mera from Michigan, 7'7" wingspan. Elite shot blocker. I mean, I would hope so. If you're 7'3" and you're not blocking shots, I don't know what you're doing out there. Average 12.1 points, 6.8 rebounds, 2.4 assists, which is pretty solid. That's good for a big man. And then the 2.6 blocks, 67% field goal around the rim, good finisher, good touch. Not a shooter, doesn't shoot the three at all. 56% free throws. That's pretty subpar. That's lowest on this list, but the talent's there, the body's there, the size is there. You can't teach 7'3". You can't teach 7'6" wingspan, 7'7" wingspan, and he's only 21 years old. So he's got a lot of potential for sure. I'm a little lower on him because I don't love the way he moves. He's kind of clunky and slow for a big man, but there's a lot of people who have him higher on this list. And I've heard the Thunder might even be interested in taking him with one of their first-round picks. So my comp for this guy is Luke Cornett, similar style backup big man for the Spurs playing right now, who kind of took a while to kind of find his role in the league. But I see them as similar style big man, like good defender, can block shots, tall. I believe Cornett is 7'2", so Mara's 7'3". There you go. But yeah, that's why I just think he doesn't move the best in my opinion. So like, I don't know how versatile and if he's really can be a starting big man at the next level, but jury's still out, so we'll see. That's all I got on Mara. All right, last couple prospects here. Number 27, Joshua Jefferson out of Iowa State. So this guy reminds me of Boris Diaw. That's the best comp I have for him. 6'9" power forward at Iowa State. Had a really good season for the Cyclones this past season and got hurt in the second round, which unfortunately kind of ended their season because they lost first round, then they beat Kentucky, and then they lost Tennessee without Jefferson. In a game they had no other options. They were clearly limited. This guy meant so much to Cyclones offense, and his ability to create and play make at the wing position as a 6'9" power forward at 246, like it's pretty impressive. And that's why Boris Diaw is my comp, who really was a very good passing big in the league for a long time. 16.4 points per game, 7.4 rebounds, 4.8 assists as a power forward. Nearly averaged 5 assists as a power forward. That's very impressive. 0.8 blocks and 1.6 steals. 47% shooter from the field. Only 34% from deep. I don't think the three-point shot will ever play a factor for him. I don't know if he'll ever be able to space the floor. Only 70% free throw shooter as well. So that could be a question mark. That could be a weakness of his ability to space the floor. But I think if you can get him in the paint, like kind of facilitating at like the Point Towns role that the Knicks have been doing lately, kind of in the short roll up top. He can really create from the paint and kind of kick out to three-point shooters from there. So I definitely see a role Joshua Jefferson can play. Way too smart of a player. Good size, good NBA body, and has a lot of experience in college. So, all right, last three players now. Alex Karaban is my 28th ranked player on this on my big board from UConn. The 4-year starter out of UConn. This guy almost won 3 national championships. Kind of crazy. So this guy brings winning culture. This guy brings leadership. You know this guy brings a good attitude. He's going to work hard. He's going to sacrifice his shots for the good of the team. You know he's a winner. He's bought into winning championships, and that's all he's about. And he was coached by Dan Hurley, so might have a little psycho competitiveness in him as well. 6'8", wing shooter. He's going to play the 3. He was perfect size to play the 4 in college and be the stretch 4 they needed. However, he kind of never really got better after his sophomore year, so that's kind of just one of those players you expect to keep ascending, but he kind of just reached his ceiling in year 2 and then kind of tailed off. So, but the shot has been there. He's a 37% free three-point shooter for his career at UConn. 46% this past year. That was 46% was his career, I believe, too. And he's an 85% free throw shooter, which is elite. So this guy's just an absolute sniper. Can play the 3 or the 4. Good size. Good, decent rebounder for his position. 13.2 points, 5.3 rebounds, 2.4 assists. Can guard wings. Again, he's not going to shut anyone down, but he does have a 6'11 wingspan, 225, and he's smart. He's a smart, cerebrally sound, fundamentally sound player. So he can provide good team defense. I don't think you want him guarding, Kevin Durant on the wing, but he can play in a system of defense, and he's not going to tank you. He's not going to get targeted on defense. So my comp for Alex Karaban is Sam Hauser on the Boston Celtics. I think that's kind of the perfect player that in the perfect role he can play on a good team is be that sharpshooter off the bench, whether it's the 3 or 4, play the wing, the 6'7", 6'8". It's kind of I think they had similar college careers too. I think Hauser was a 4-year player, 4-year starter. So yeah, that's my comp is what Karaban can be, like a 40% three-point shooter off and play the wing position for a good team. And he can play for a long time. You can have a really good NBA career doing that. So I do see Karaban finding a good role because this guy knows how to win. This guy knows how to play. And we saw it played in 3 national championships, won 2 of them. So, all right, last 2 prospects. Now, I had to get this guy in here because was one of my favorite players past season to watch on my Cincinnati Bearcats. Was by far the best player, honestly, the only player we had. That was Baba Miller, power forward / center, 6'11". This guy is literally built like Jalen Johnson. I know I used Jalen Johnson for my Nate Ament comp, but if you watch this guy play, like he kind of looks like Giannis in the college version of it. He's just not even close to as talented, does not have the ceiling, and he's already a senior. So, but this guy was super fun to watch for Cincinnati. Averaged 13 points, 10.3 rebounds. One of the best rebounders I saw in college basketball all season. Especially one of the best offensive rebounders. This guy is a beast on the offensive glass, which every team could use. He is also kind of like a point forward, averaged 3.7 assists, kind of played the Ben Simmons role at LSU for us this year because we just had no one else. We had very poor guard play for the Cincinnati Bearcats, but what Baba was able to put up, like there was no doubt he was our best player, and like he kind of was the only one. He was alone out there. Does not shoot threes, 19% from 3. That's not good. 52% from the field, however. Stick to that, Baba. Only 65% from free throw. Very good defender, long, lengthy defender, 7'2" wingspan, 1.6 blocks per game. 1.2 blocks per game. But he does have a tendency to turn the ball over. He likes to have the ball in his hands. He is a creator at that position. My NBA comp for him is Kyle Anderson, slow-mo. I see a lot of slow-mo in his game, actually, and he kind of does play methodical like that. Like, there are plays where Baba will slow up, take a slow step with his foot and kind of do a Euro and pass it off or try to create. And kind of a similar size that slow-mo was, too, back at UCLA, and they kind of put up similar numbers. So that's my comp for Baba is Kyle Anderson. I do think he's good enough to find a role in the NBA. This guy is athletic enough. This guy put up enough stats. This guy's a good enough rebounder, can bring it, can play the 4 at the NBA, has the body, has the size, can put on a little weight, definitely can put on a little strength, 208 only, but the level of production he's putting up, I definitely find a world where, I definitely see a world where this guy finds a role at the NBA. Love him. All right, last prospect of the day. Last prospect, my first round prospect is Dallin Swain out of Texas. Now, this guy's higher on a lot of other people's big boards. I'm not as high on him, but I did want to get him in my first round here because I get it. Like, I see the NBA body, I see the vision, I see the wing. Like, this, the ceiling vision for a player like this is an OG Anunoby archetype. An OG Anunoby archetype, like a downhill wing, just a brute 6'7", 6'8", strong wing, 211, who's still young and can do everything at a decent level. That is Dallin Swain, like, kind of best case scenario. However, I also see like a Stanley Johnson version where he kind of just becomes Stanley Johnson, what he was on the Pistons. One of my favorite players way back, coming out of Arizona, and didn't really pan out in the NBA because he's a real two-way wing with upside that you see the body, you see the athleticism, you see the talent, but the production has kind of been questionable. The shooting has always been questionable. He's only a 34% three-point shooter from deep. That is subpar. That's below average. However, he did score from the field at 54% overall. Put up great production at Texas. Kind of took a while to figure it out at Xavier. He's from Ohio and now transferred to Texas. Averaged 17.3 points, 7.5 rebounds, 3.6 assists. So he can do it all. Also 1.6 steals, can play defense. However, I'm just worried that he could become like a Stanley Johnson where the shot never develops and he relies too much on raw strength and raw physicality to dominate dudes. When in the NBA, everybody is athletic as you are, if not more athletic. Everyone is as big as you are, if not bigger. So, like, that's what you're going to run into in the NBA. So, that's all I got for Dallin Swain. Again, I wanted to get him in the first round because the talent's there, the body's there. I do think he will go higher than that, but I'm a little lower than him than the rest. But all right, let's look at the big board overall here. All right, this is final big board now. As you can see, that's what we got: 1 through 30. DeBonsa first, all the way to Dallin Swain at 30. Appreciate you guys listening. That's all I got for my big board, my NBA draft big board first round top 30 prospects today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Send me your big boards. Like, I love talking drafts with everybody. So NBA draft, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the Point After with Mitch Kaiser below. And hope you guys have a great rest of your day and enjoy Game 7 of Spurs Thunder tomorrow night. I will see you next month.